Son is asking what were the relationships between Atlantis and Lemuria before the distortion, and then what happened after. Thank you.
Well, it's a beautiful, and thank you for asking. I want to acknowledge the person first. It's a wonderful question. It's a complex question, so let's make it simple and sensitized to the essence. This is how we speak, bringing back to the essence. Well, Lemuria came first, we know that. The Lemurian came into the Atlantean. If you look at feel and just tune in to the energy about Lemuria in Atlantis, they were very much, and they still are, very complementary to bring the divine feminine aspect with the divine masculine sacred archetypes of the prime creator together. So they were always meant to be in synergy. I know I'm looking over there because it's online, but here. Sorry. They're always meant to be very complementary in terms of the teaching, the knowing. They're always meant to live in harmony with each other. And they were very much designed, each very specifically, for different synergy and different, I would say, purposes. But when a distortion came, it did influence, and it created a distortion into the miscreation field. So when you are in miscreation, you are no longer utilizing the divine archetypes in its pure form, if that makes sense. And it's complex in terms of what a distortion. It did not happen overnight. We remembering the first stage when a distortion came, and then the second time we were opening by the third time or the third stage or phase of Atlantis, then that will be rectified. But then there's other things that happened. But essentially, remember, Gaia was designed as a sacred garden and ark for life and different genetic energy coming in and blossoming into a sacred garden. Again, it's an analogy, but it's a good one. So the balance between Lemuria and Atlantis were very essential to the possibility at a time where the timeline was heading to. But then a lot of things happen and create a distortion, which create the Earth to descend into lower frequencies and reach such a level of density, dualistic, and polarization field that we are now been here for generation. And this is why so many of us have come back and returned to bring different level of frequencies to rebalance, heal, and release that polarization. Again, I make it simple just to illustrate the essence of the way it was meant to be, and then the distortion where everything affected. It's like you are the guardian of this sacred pond where there's different fish and different, leaves and different echo of life. Beautiful design. But if somebody come in your pond repeatedly and throw a pebble with the intention to disrupt the field or the energy of your pond, well, if one species is affected or perish, it will affect the rest of the ecosystem. And you go, what happened to the sacredness of my pond? Well, repeat distortion changed the fabric of the pond itself. So the distortion that came at different stages changed the nature of the field, or changed the nature of what Atlantis was about, and descended back into lower frequency. There was a disconnect that took place. So the Lemurians saw the disconnect, and of course they were affected as well, just like you would be if you were in a pond. That's an image here. I hope that's a great way to illustrate something complex, but to understand the essence of it.
Yeah. And we're still suffering from those ripples of unconsciousness and distortion.
Among other things we do, indeed.
And we're slowly, people like us are slowly, first of all shedding it from ourselves, because we all carry it, and then shedding it from the rest of humanity. So thank you for the question. Is there another one online?
We have a follow-up. So you're saying that Atlantis was more of the divine masculine?
overall
archetype, and
It's an
Lemuria is
overall.
more of the divine feminine. And they've heard Alcazar say something similar. And so they coexisted on the planet at the same time.
They have at some point.
Were they in communication?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, those of us who remember being as intergalactic beings, we were interacting at some point in the timelines to both. So it came a time where their timeline kind of merged together. And when that mergence came, they knew that if one aspect would be thrown off balance, it will affect the others. Again, a simplified way, but it's a good way to be able to visualize everything. And then there's other component that happened within Atlantis, but also outside of it. It's not just them. It's not just the Atlantean. I have a tendency to come to their defense. I love the Atlantean. I love them. But there were other factors that contributed, that came off planet, that came and infiltrated. So think of it this way. Today, when you see people in authority with money and network and they have resources, oftentimes out of a good intention originally, there's contamination, either of authority behind the scenes, well behind the scene, or the different groups says, if I give you this, would you let me have this? And you go, oh, that will feed me, I'll let you do that. But the moment you say yes to this, you changed the nature of what you were doing in the first place. And we see that in company, we see that in, politics, structures, medicine, education, everywhere, just to be, again, neutral. I'm very neutral here. I feed nothing. I'm very neutral. So you see it still to this day, this paradigm of, an exchange for. And I know I'm going to overstretch a little bit, but please allow me for a moment. There's a purpose. My delegation, we have approached the great government around the world. We have approached them, and we have a point where the planet came to a very extremely important conjunction in the evolutionary process. We're talking a long time ago, many generations ago. We knew that the Earth could potentially go to that timeline, or this timeline. And so we approached them, and I said them as a general connotation, and we offer spiritual knowledge, science of the conscious science. No technology. We can't use our technology. We offer teachings. We can say we can really help you to accelerate your evolution like really fast. And another group came and it says, forget about the mind and the science and kumbaya. We're going to offer you technology. But we're going to need something in return. So they, again, government or authority figure, chose that timeline. This is why you're here today. Otherwise, you would be already ascended at that time. The Earth is already ascended, but not in this timeline. It did create that fork in the road. But we can't force a planet to choose to go in a certain way. We're here to support. So if you look at Atlantis and Lemuria, again, to go back to the question, well, let's just say that something similar happened. This is why it says history repeat itself. This is exactly why it says history has repeated itself. Some faction came and offered the Atlantean, I can advance your technology and you can reach different level of mental capacity. If in exchange this happened, he says, okay, let's do this. And that started descending in consciousness, descending into light, descending into feeling separate from source. You're no longer part of source, you're disconnected. And that was, let's say, a big ripple in a pond. Again, neutrality, everyone. We here to shift that again, because we have what? The authority and the power to do so. You don't need to have big companies with networks. You can do it now.